I'd like to welcome you to John 8:44. I'm James Wickstrom, a teacher of Yahweh, coming to you live on the Turner Radio Network for the next hour from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, filling in for Pastor Bob, who covered for me last week. We're going to have a very, very interesting program tonight. I'm sure you're going to find it that way. I have a guest by the name of Rabbi Avi Finkelstein. He's off the east coast of the United States, who's going to be joining me tonight, and we're going to be talking about authenticity of things in the world. Rabbi Avi Finkelstein, as I said, a rabbi off the east coast of the United States. Are you there with me tonight?
Shalom, I am here.
Say, listen, I'm filling in here for Pastor Bob tonight. And I know we've never met, but I do have some very interesting questions for you. I think questions that I want to give you the opportunity to answer to, because there's a lot of rumors and conjecture that's taking place across this country relating to the Jewish population, okay?
Okay.
Now, you see, as being off the synagogue and a teacher of the Jewish race, because you are a race, aren't you?
Well, some say we're a race, some say we're a religion.
Yeah, well, what do you say?
We're a little of each.
I can imagine, yeah.
That question is confusing, not just to non-Jews, but often to Jews themselves. Are Jews a race, a religion, a nation, a people, a family, a culture? Many people would say they're all of the above. And the reality is the Jewish people are all of the above except for one of those, a race. How do we know the Jewish people are not a race? Because if you look at Jews from around the world, especially if you visit the land of Israel, you'll see that Jews come in all size, shapes, and colors. And besides that fact, anyone can join the Jewish people. If it was a racial definition, you can't join a race. But being a Jew is not just a national identity, and it's not just a religious identity. It's not just like being American or French or English or Russian, and it's not just like being a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist. It's both. There's a national component and a religious component to the Jewish people. There is a faith, but even a Jew who's not observant, who professes to not even believe in God, is still part of the Jewish people. And there's also a national component. But even a Jew who lives in Israel who's not observant is still part of the Jewish people. So it's complicated, but it's a combination of both. But the Jewish people are definitely a nation. The Jewish people have a land, a language, and a history. Ironically, we would say the Jewish people may have less of those things than most nations. Yes, the Jewish people have a land, and yes, there's been a Jewish state for 70 plus years. But for the last 2,000 years, the majority of the Jewish people have lived in a diaspora outside the land of Israel. Yes, the Jewish people have a language, Hebrew. But for more than 2,000 years, Hebrew was not a dead language, but it wasn't a spoken language. Only recently has it been resurrected as the national language of the Jewish state. And yes, the Jewish people have a history. But for thousands of years, Jews scattered around the world had very different histories from each other. But interestingly enough, to find people as old as the Jewish people who have survived, because if you look in history books, there are many ancient people. If you read the Bible, Hyksos, Phoenicians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Mycenaeans. Where are these people today? They're gone. If you want to visit them, you have to go to a museum or a history book. So ironically, the Jewish people, the Jewish nation, that has had such a crazy history and has spent so much of its time as a nation scattered around the world, is one of the oldest surviving nations on the planet Earth. Back in the land of Israel today, after 2,000 years of exile, the Jewish people have taken a licking, but they kept on ticking. I'm Ken Spiro, and you're watching JTV.